Okay, well then.
We are totally ready. We'll just let Dave get his coat off and get situated. Huh?
You can do your preliminaries.
I could. It is 6:29, and we are so ready to go to start our meeting this evening. Patrick Knight, Mike Roth, Ben Peters, Michael Gary, and myself, along with Kim Dunsmore and City Attorney Chris Hood, are all here this evening, along with Dave Tierstig from the park, major presenter this evening.
Yeah.
So, as I look around the room, I'll just do a double check to make sure there's nobody under a chair waiting here for open forum.
Nope.
And I would say the answer to that is not, so we're done with open forum. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Any questions about the meeting minutes from before, or bills or anything?
No, not from my side.
Nope.
All
I
right.
would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that.
All in favor to approve
Aye.
the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. There we go. Kim takes a note on that one. And now, in record-breaking time, we are ready to hear from Dave around the new park master plan that you guys have worked so hard on.
Yeah, for a
A
while.
lot of effort and time and
Yes, good evening, thank you. We have been at this for a bit, 7 months. So, and I just want to set an objective for tonight. It's not to approve the plan, it's to review the plan and get you all up to speed and basic check-in before the park board meets next Tuesday.
Dave, can I have you turn that mic towards you a little bit more?
Yeah, check. 1, 2.
There we go.
Yeah, so, yeah, we meet next Tuesday, the 5th, I believe, and that would potentially be our meeting to recommend an approval for you in December, which could be very streamlined if we like what we see tonight. And so we have this presentation that was before the park board earlier this month on the 13th, which is very handy to maybe walk through tonight to get you all up to speed. I'm not sure how many folks had a chance to take a look at things beforehand.
I did, yeah.
did
Yeah, we-
read through it.
Nice. So a lot of review. Been about a 7-month process. We started in May. We've got HKGI as our consultancy out of the Twin Cities. They specialize in this kind of work. Gabrielle Grinde is their project lead. She's been very efficient and effective at putting together this plan. And I'm just borrowing her presentation. So she's been always kind of keeping us on track, keeping us on schedule. Here's in basic, like, past 7 months, month by month. Park Board's been very active on this every month. We've had 2 big sort of survey site visits, those in June and September. So obviously we want this plan to be based on public engagement. As the memo stated, we're looking for a vision for the park for the next 10 to 20 years, as well as regional significance with the state for legacy funding opportunities.
Yeah.
And so we spent most of our time earlier this month looking at a final concept map. This is a bit of a hybrid from what was the Concept 1, Concept 2 option out for survey in September. We had an open house. We took about 230 some online surveys around this idea of, like, what do you like about Concept 1, what do you like about Concept 2. Concept 1 was pretty much a clear winner on the polling and the survey work. A lot of interest from the seasonal campers in the campground themselves. When we really looked at the numbers of the surveys, the second survey was not as robust, I would say, as far as the feedback as the June survey. June, we had over 400 responses.
Nice.
And that was the preliminary, like, tell us what you think, what should we work on, what are priorities, what are issues, what are opportunities. That was in June. And that we saw a really good turnout from the locals, as well as the seasonals and the just, I would say, visitors. The second round of survey work was a little more focused on changes, maps that depicted changes. And the Concept 1 didn't show a lot of change to the campground. Concept 2 did. It took out a lot of sites along the front row, as we say, on the harbor. Reorganized the east side quite a bit. Took that campground on the east and opened up the waterfront to become like a pedestrian greenbelt. And, I think a lot of campers saw that as not their idea of fun because their site was being eliminated. So there was quite a groundswell of camper input in September. But we also heard from the community, and, a lot of folks were consistently saying, we like what we have, don't wreck it. There was a pretty common theme about how wonderful this property is and that it's been pretty well run and, obviously is a economic generator for not just the city, but the entire town in terms of hosting thousands of visitors this summer. And seasonal campers are members of the community as well. They do a lot of volunteer work and a lot of extra credit we give them sometimes for being like a part of the neighborhood. So when we looked at concept 1 versus 2, 1 prevailed. Both of them showed significant changes in the marina area. You can see where the break wall itself is realigned, it's opened up. It's very ambitious modeling, it's very conceptual as well. It's not based on engineering or Army Corps
Okay.
feasibility or approval or any of that. So I want to be clear that all these portrayals are real high level and aren't into the, construction drawing type of work. So certainly with the marina, we've got some work to do if we want to pull that depiction off. But the idea was to open up the channel for navigation and for water flow and kind of a multi-benefit to improving the municipal marina. We seem to gain a lot of momentum with our new boat launch, a lot of success there. We felt the public received that well. This is our first summer running that area down at the end. And it was, I would say, a success. So now we're sort of baby stepping back up into the marina, into the actual marina. So these on the left now, and maybe I'll just kind of skip ahead because I've got a bigger slide that shows so this is what we heard from the community, what we should focus on, what we should improve. Signage and wayfinding was a very common theme amongst all users of the park. Where do we find the pavilion? Where do we find the sledding hill? I mean, I kind of take it internally like we don't have enough signs out there. Well, we're scheduling more. So, the big feedback was make it more welcoming, make it more accessible, pedestrian accessibility, strollability, not just for vehicle traffic, but for pedestrians. And then another big emphasis was on that sort of the theme of keep what you have and improve it. Maintain the bathhouses, replace the bathhouses. Ball field wasn't necessarily up or down when we asked people, should we keep it, should we get rid of it? It was real just, most people didn't care. There were 3 answers like keep it, get rid of it, don't care one. Improve it was on there, I guess, as well, and that didn't finish very high. So this map depicts the ball field area, but it really reserves it as open space. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a ball field in the future. We're kind of working with the community on replacements. The girls' high school softball team plays there in the spring. The community ed leagues play there in the summer. But other than that, it's really just open space. Like campers use it for running their dogs and locals as well. So
Just, if it's okay, just a quick aside.
please, yeah, jump in at any point.
I read through the school's results from their work that they went into, and the kids want those outside spaces for things, but what they want is their ball field up there, understand, to be closer to the school.
Yes, and off the cold water. In the spring, when it's girls' softball season, it's always inevitably postponed the first month or so. I mean, they start early April, and there's, it's 30 degrees down there, even throughout May. So, yeah, I'm not surprised, and that's something we'll have to work on with the school. So other themes, other improvements, the circulation and the connections like I talked about earlier, pedestrian improvements, trailhead parking, that's this idea of turning the old pool site into a proper parking lot for the Gitchigami Bike Trail and others. And so you see quite an improvement up in that upper left corner where the old pool was, as far as a paved parking lot and striped stalls and kiosks and like an idea of a trailhead for the bike trail was something the DNR brought up in a stakeholder input session. Made a lot of sense. It's, I think, already there in a, sort of a rustic form
Yeah.
with the gravel and the old pool pavement of the old lot. And so we looked to improve that. But then Councillor Schulte, who's on the park board, had a brilliant idea, like, use some of that space for a check-in lane to get the rigs off the hill. So that was a second addition into that trailhead lot, is this idea that some of the bigger rigs can come down the hill and we'll have signage and stripage and take a right into that old pool lot, settle in. Of course, you got to walk across the street to the office to check in, but we've got, crosswalks and signage and all the necessary direction there for folks to really kind of decongest that office area when they're checking in. When they're checking out as well, we've kind of flared a checkout lane on the right side of 8th Avenue as you're leaving the park. So, yeah, quite a bit of improvements around that office area in terms of parking and vehicle flow. Marine improvements, I talked about a little bit, but we're looking at opening up that wall. It's a long process with the Army Corps. We've got to do a feasibility study. I mean, it's many, many years out on that one. But it's really kind of a bigger piece of why we're regionally significant. When we did an initial application to the state, 6 years ago now, they scored us high, and mostly because of Lake Superior access, water access. A lot of campgrounds on the state park system on the North Shore, not a lot of municipal marinas, especially on this end. We're the only one. And so,
under the current way it is now, so Elena and you've both been mentioning that the water kind of sits in there and quality isn't very good. So then I'm looking at the new one that kind of has the same little, is it built differently so the water moves through so it won't do the same thing?
Tracy, we don't know yet, honestly,
Oh,
without the real kind of technical study of the wave and the hydraulics and the movement of water through that corner. This is merely a depiction. It's kind of a wish that, wouldn't it be
No,
great?
no, no,
She's
no, no,
asking
no.
about the one.
The one you just put
Oh,
in, because
the
it
little
creates a
L-wall.
little, or is it designed differently?
No, it's designed to create a safe, calm environment at the boat ramp. And so, it was engineered, they did a wave analysis, they, I think, took their time with it as far as like what the water condition will be like behind that wall, and that's calm. And we've seen that even with some of these bigger southeast streams. But the circulation,
Yeah.
tough
Okay.
to say.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because maybe now they know how to do all that
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, it's,
kind of build it into
the wall itself is semi-porous. It's a rubble mound base. The concrete's on top of big stone. So the idea is there's a little bit of pass-through under the concrete even. And yeah, only time will tell. We've had some questions and will it silt in? Will the wave actually bring beach gravel around that gooseneck? And don't know.
We'll find out.
Check
Yeah.
back in 10 years.
Yeah. In the meantime, it's proven very popular as like a swimming hole. Last summer the water got so warm in August and September. We had lots of folks down on that wall and on the docks and on the ramp and just swimming away. It was like a little bit of mixed use, where boats are trying to launch and kids are swimming, and it was super popular site.
Yeah, it's
That's
very well
great.
done.
Yeah.
And so, what else we got on this map? Bathrooms, that came out really high on the, what should we improve first? And maybe this was kind of staff-driven, because I know the facilities really well. I know we've got a real old bathhouse in the middle of the park. We call it Bathhouse 3. It's south of the rec hall currently, kind of right. It isn't on this map because it's been consolidated with a new rec hall facility. Just to the left and to the bit southwest of the trailhead lot, you see that white structure that's
Yeah.
a rec hall bathhouse combined facility, a bit of efficiency on mostly a bathhouse, but the idea of a big social hall, lockable community space is built into that building. I think that's a big win for not only improving the bathhouse experience for the campers and the trailhead users, but create a great community space. That the current rec hall is very popular, but it's going on 40 years old. And so that's a bigger piece of this map as well.
That's really super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not a lot of change to the campsites, to the layouts, to the roads, all that remains intact, really. When you look at an existing map condition versus this map, campsites themselves are largely unchanged. Oh, I will say there's another new bathhouse depicted in the, just off of 8th Avenue. Bathhouse 2 is rebuilt about halfway down the road there on the right, on the east side. It's currently kind of south of the office building. Old Bathhouse 2 is in a kind of an odd spot right now for redundancy. It's really close to Bathhouse 1, which is what sits above the marina. And we did an analysis of our sites and our distances from bathhouses, and there's a code, there's a state with the Department of Health, when you're building a new campground, all sites have to be within 400 feet of a bathhouse. Now, of course, we're grandfathered in, but we have sites down by the boat launch area that are more than 400 feet from a bathhouse, about 20 of them, down on that corner across from the existing pavilion. And so the idea here was to make a Bathhouse 2 rebuild that services those sites, kind of captures all of our sites within 400 feet. And really, Bathhouse 2 is our oldest structure. I can't even date it. It's, I think, pre-'80s. And we've done the best we can with it, but it too needs to be rebuilt. And so the location is somewhat changed. It's to the south of its current location. And I think really maybe a little easier, a little closer for folks using the pavilion or using the boat launch. So any questions on the map and the facilities and?
So did you, in this one, maybe I missed this, did you get a second, like, picnic pavilion in on this one? Or
No, we talked about that at the meeting on the 13th, and we have the new one in the marina, which is, you know, new and a bit unknown, so not as popular yet maybe, not as big. But then we kind of struck the light bulb and said, what about Boulder Park? And this is a different piece of property. It's over here by the Coast Guard area. But this, as we all know, the Coast Guard is in transition. The parking lot itself is no longer a boat launch parking lot. And a lot of talk over the years about a band shell or an event center or even just a pavilion now is kind of where we struck as a ideal location for another pavilion on the water in downtown. You know, that's, I would say, even more usable for the downtown businesses or, you know, weddings, sort of has been talked about. You know, Concept 2 did show one, a second pavilion along the waterfront on the beach, kind of where that red dot is now for what is a wayfinding sign right out front of those front rows. But we thought, shoot, that's a big view there. People love that view. There's no parking there. And so it just wouldn't fit in between, really parking became you know, as it always is, an issue. The other location we considered was down to the west of the new boat launch area where the old shops were. Right? Like that's somewhat open space. Of course, we can't really compete with that parking lot. The DNR's been pretty strict about not building an event center there, actually. We had to move that off of our old master plan to proceed with the boat launch parking. They said that's not a good idea because it'll end up being like Coast Guard Point, you know, where we just don't have parking for truck trailers in the summer. If you build an event center or a pavilion near that parking lot, it's going to get parked up. And they, you know, we had this May, I think there was that Bricklayers convention came to town, and they parked up the DNR lot, and DNR noticed. So good for them, but it was May, so we just all got along. But yeah, the idea of another pavilion on the water is, I think, a good one in Boulder Park, right, like Coast Guard lot area, which is in our district, in the Park District, and needs some visioning as well, but not on this map.
Yeah.
And then I will say there's a handy new hiking trail that sort of is a great idea that from the Bathhouse 3 trailhead area departs to the west and sort of wraps around the outer perimeter of the ball field through the woods. There's already kind of a rustic trail there now that the kids have established because of the playground area, and then they get up to the tent loop. But this shows I think it's maybe not coming through as well, but that white arch
Yeah.
is a new hiking trail.
Thank you. I asked for that. Well, I just thought even campers, like they have their dog and
For
they want
sure.
to get up and take a little, I can do a little stroll around kind of on
For
the
sure.
perimeter. Or if local people want to get in and not be, you always have that feeling like, oh, that's their little spot. Even when I'm camping, like, oh, that's their spot.
Yeah, we heard that a lot. And so part of this is opening it up to the community, putting up more wayfinding signs, more kiosks, more interpretive signage that says, public park, come on in, stroll away, here's where Sweet Arts Bluff is, here's some history of the land, What's, like, all these little red dots throughout the map are kiosks, wayfinding, interpretive signage. And we've really prioritized that as, I think, that and bathhouse rebuilds is kind of the first two things we'll go after.
Yeah.
Improving the signage, improving the bathhouses. So what else we got here? I haven't followed this closely. Oh, here's what will it cost? Total rough estimates. If there's anything that will not be correct 10 years from now when we build something, it's going to be these numbers. But Gabrielle, and part of the planning, and with the state especially, part of the regional significance is having a capital improvement plan. Obviously, they're going to want to know what we need or why we need to be significant. What are we going to spend the money on? Marinas, bathhouses, signage, etc. And so her team has done the best guessing they can to assign some rough numbers to these improvements we're talking about. And, if you take any time looking through this, there's some really high numbers, I feel, that represent, like the marina, for example, $10 million is just a placeholder. And yet, it could be that. It could be more. It could be less. It's nothing to really sweat right now. What I am sweating, though, is some of the, we know we want to do signage, we know we want to do bathhouses, road improvements. Those numbers, I think we can fine tune a little more. When I looked at even just the first one for the trailhead in hundreds of thousands, you see 200,000 for site demo and grading. I don't think that's necessary. Obviously, it's already been demoed and it's not flat, but who's to say?
Yeah.
So what I'm in the process of fact checking some of these numbers right now on some of the maybe more realistic pieces that we intend to build out soon. I think there's some flex in these numbers. But 21 million is the bottom line. And half of that's the marina. But the rec hall bathhouse scenario is at $1 million, I think might be short. Oh, no, sorry, 2 million. That's a decent number, but then 750 for the bathhouse 2 might not cut it. Two Harbors recently built a bathhouse for their new addition. It was $1 million. Maybe that's not that recent. That was about 3 or 4 years ago now.
It's not that big.
No. But neither would bathhouse 2 be. So those are the kind of rough estimates on costs. Part of what we need to submit to the state. And then there's the big 72-page master plan document. And again, this is principally for the state regional significance. I mean, it'll be a nice piece on my shelf too, we're going to go to frequently, but most of this document is designed to meet the criteria set forth by the state. And those are those 5 sections under the table of contents, right? We see the regional significance and site information, setting in regional context, vision, trends, and public engagement, development, implementation, and operations and programming. That's all required through this Greater Regional Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission application process. It's an online portal where we'll be uploading all this information. And so a lot of it is just going to be text, narrative text. It's not going to have this nice graphic layout. They're not too concerned about pictures and the look of it, more just the substance. But we will have a finished copy, like a 72-page pretty copy for us. So Park Board, we did basic proofreading, I would say, is what we're into right now, where if you've had time to start to get into this, there's a lot of narrative and little typos here and there, little fact checking going on. simple stuff, but important.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the
Yeah.
final
Mhm.
spin polish on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like I noticed the pricing was not in for the rates here.
Right,
I thought, well, maybe you were waiting to know what you were setting the rates still or something.
exactly. Yep. But I think HKGI has done a really good job because of their experience with these kinds of plans to really fill in some of this, like trends, vision, public engagement. Those were the sections I was struggling with years ago when we thought we could do this in-house. You know, we thought, oh, well, we've got a 2009 master plan. It's really thin, but, you know, can we do this ourselves? And I'm glad we went with the consultancy and their
Mhm.
expertise, and a lot of this kind of boilerplate, you know, when it comes to recreation trends and demographics and that, they've done a good job of amalgamating that. But, you know, they've tapped on our visitor bureau for a lot of the, when you look at some of those sections in here, you know, it's a lot of statistics and how people are recreating, and yes, they're getting outside more. Certainly, the pandemic was just a huge boom for outdoor rec and camping, and, you know, parks
Yeah.
became really important. And so they've got a lot of recent data around that. You know, I thought we did a really good job with public engagement on this plan, so we're able to fill out that section really well here, where we've got the results of the surveys and sort of the rankings of our priorities and all of that based on public involvement. So there is, in sort of towards the end, where we're looking at prioritizing and implementing some sections, you know, forthcoming, talking about, and this was what the park board is into now, like what's the priorities, what should we work on first?
Mhm.
There's a budget section where we'll be supplying our current operating and, you know, revenues and expenses, and that's pretty easy to fill in. A lot of pretty pictures, a lot of like precedent images of signs and buildings and people out in the park enjoying themselves.
Looked like you had one Portage photo.
Yeah, good eye. 2.
Oh, I missed one.
But we've just now gotten some drone shots of the park from
Oh, yeah?
from a camper, from a guest who's a pro photographer.
Uh-huh.
And he sent up his drone this fall and got some great images of the new new launch and
Oh,
sort of these
wow.
like, what are they, owl eyes or whatever, where it's like a concave shot, and we're already working those into the new update.
Nice.
Overhead.
Mhm.
You know, aerial photos go a long way, I think, to show the proximity to town and the highway and the water. Some really good imagery.
Yeah.
So there you have it, the 2023 Rec Park Master Plan.
Very nice.
What's missing? What would you like to see in it? What would,
Man.
now's our
I don't know.
chance.
I like your
And
trail.
it's not the last chance, I should say. We've got a
Right.
park board meeting next Tuesday. Craig will hopefully be there,
Mhm.
right? We'll get any last, you know, corrections or revisions coming. We'll put this back on your agenda in December, hopefully. But yeah, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm sure people will be thrilled to get new bathhouses,
Mhm.
like really a lot.
Yeah. I think the priorities you guys mentioned, the signage and that. Yeah. People are gonna be good. Are happy with that.
So did you lose, you know, with this new design, did you lose any camping sites or gain any?
Oh, Ben, good question. There's a slide with that site count here that I breezed through, because it's, I think, minimal. I think maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
The bathhouse 2, here it is, where you see in the bottom, campsite quantity. And there was like a +2, is that for electric water sewer? And then a -1 for electric water. So it's really a net 0.
Sure.
And that was important, I felt. And we heard that in '09 from the community when we were looking at economics. We heard it, certainly heard it again this summer and fall, that, you know, these campsites are, everyone makes thousands of dollars.
Right.
some more than others. Those front row in particular, $10,000 a site. So that's where we really got serious about campsites being important and really no net loss.
And you've grown the marina, so.
Maria's got a big potential for, theoretically doubling in size. We currently only offer about 30 slips, and of those, only 20 are in the deep end, where it's, power and water and, decent-sized boats.
Yeah.
The other 10 or so are in the swamp, as I
Yeah.
say, for little boats. But, we know the lake, we know people are in 30 to 40-foot boats typically, and there's where we don't have a lot of capacity for transients. Our waiting list is long. This shows maybe a double it up on the capacity, but again, it depends on slip size and break wall alignment, and there's a lot more work that's needed in the marina. I think that is the end of my show, unless, I thought after discussion there was, just these next steps of what we're doing right now, the proofreading, the revisions, the filling in the operating plans and the budget, and then getting a recommendation for approval.
Cool.
All right.
Looks great.
Yeah, no, very good.
A lot of hard work.
Well, it's been a team effort. It's been a lot of support from the board and the community, and it's kind of fun because I started in '08 as the manager. Well, I started in '06 as the assistant manager, but then I was promoted in '08, and one of my first jobs was at master plan in '08, '09, and whole different era, whole different
Yeah.
outcome. I like this one better.
It's a nice report.
Yeah.
But 09 plan is still solid. We actually included the goals and policies from that plan because they were really fundamental and sort of evergreen. And so we've been using those really quite frequently over the last 12 to 13 years. A part of that plan was relocating the pool, which is done, getting the public works out of there, check it, improve the boat launch, done.
Yeah.
Big moves as a result of that plan. And so hopefully we have that same kind of momentum with the new plan.
Yeah.
Submittal with the state is really anytime we're ready. We're fairly confident in our chances of becoming significant, but then once we are significant, the process of applying for funding is a new step, and plans need to be a little more precise, and money, et cetera. They only, I think, do granting twice a year, kind of spring and fall. And so the idea that anything will take place next summer, I don't think is very feasible, but perhaps in 2 years.
So
Okay.
is that a deal where you take a little part of, the bigger plan of what you want to do? You just apply, hey, we're going to do this little part of it now, and you go apply for some money for that portion? Or how does that, or you try to do the whole kit and caboodle?
We haven't completely wrapped our head around that, Tracy, because it is such a, $20 million all at once is not reality, and especially with the amount of time it's going to take with the marina. So it's certain that we'll do several projects throughout the next 10 years, and that you can reapply. Like there's, the legacy funding, I believe, is, the 3/8% tax. It's good for another, not that long. I want to think less than 10 years.
I think so.
But I've kind of followed the funding, and there was initial big grab for it when it first became available 6-7 years ago. There was a backlog of projects because of parks all getting on board at once, especially the real big organized parks. So they weren't able to grant everybody their requests. But as time has gone and those big parks are built out, we feel like there's going to be money available if we've got good projects that are well thought and supported and politically supported.
Yeah.
And of course, Grand Marais is pretty popular at the Capitol, so
Yeah.
we'll have to work on that. As I say, our implementation is what's the priorities, and we know signage, we know bathhouses, we know trails and
Hey, what's up,
roads. So, well, I think take it in chunks, but, larger chunks. So we'll do $2 million here, $2 million there.
And
Just
then
a
it'll be
little
real money.
And that, and I'm sure we'll have to continue to support our capital fund as
Yeah.
well. I mean, we don't just want to put all our eggs in the legacy money and, like, Santa Claus. We're still going to continue
Yeah.
to fund our capital improvements inside. Some of these projects are going to require matching funds with the Army Corps in particular. The first sort of feasibility study for the marina is a 50-50 match, and that could be $100,000 or $200,000 study, so
Sure.
we'll keep our budgets healthy.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, it looks like, to get all this, you feel like, oh, wow, we did it, but it's just really the beginning of a lot of stuff to really delve
Yeah.
into.
But
But
it's all gonna be good.
You needed all this to be able to do it.
Yeah,
They did a nice job, it looks like.
yeah. It's nice to get all that good feedback from people.
Well, thanks for your support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Have a good meeting.
Yeah. See you later.
Next up,
Yay.
the parking ordinance.
Yep.
My personal happy one.
Well, what did you guys, I mean, I think we Ben and I kind of read it, had an idea of what we were looking at, and what did you think?
No, that's what I asked for. It's like, that's great.
You get your little trail, and now you get your parking ordinance, man, being the mayor's not too bad.
That's a mandate, huh?
Boom! I
I have to,
ask,
bring
I
baked
receive.
cookies or something?
That doesn't hurt.
No.
And it is the holiday season.
It is,
Um,
it is.
Well, it just seemed like we had one issue over in that direction.
On
This-
East First, or whatever it is.
Yes. And I think to me it was just, it really is part of downtown. We just not,
It just didn't get in there, so.
yeah, like last year we had to tweak a few things when we were doing the other stuff. And then this other thing on Highway 61 is not going well.
No.
Now it's another winter and I don't think it's been
And-
going well.
Did we get any feedback, Mike, on any of this?
No, and
Really? I'm surprised.
I'm not surprised.
You're not, okay.
that, there is not regular users of on-street parking on First Avenue East. There's a lot of off-street parking available right there.
Mm.
The Highway 61, there's only one place that's using overnight parking. I suppose technically we did get feedback from them, which was do what you will. And the other issue with lodging, we talked
Yeah.
about that, right?
Yeah.
I think, I can't think of anybody who's doing this that doesn't currently provide some off-street parking. And for those people that have been thinking about adding, they've also been planning for it, so I don't think it's caught anybody off guard.
Great. That's good news.
My only thing about the lodging parking, which we were talking about last time, was that, here it's per unit, but I'm still kind of concerned that if the unit has 2 to 3 bedrooms, you're looking at multiple cars, very commonly. Like when I have friends and family come up here and stay, they're getting those larger units because they're going to be coming separately with, multiple cars. And a lot of it is just, I don't want to see people coming here and being upset that, what do you mean? Or I've got to go find someplace where to park or whatever, That's the only one I would see fine tuning, but I don't know.
Okay.
Do we have references from other communities, how they gauge that? In
You mean
relation to units?
unit versus capacity, I guess is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's it, yeah. If there's any other
God,
sample
it's-
language that.
I mean,
addresses
partly,
it.
I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I suppose we could go that direction. I don't know. I mean, I think it is kind of, like, we do have the rules, and all the places downtown know what the rules are. And, you know, if they can say, hey, we've got one parking spot. I mean, the thing that I'm thinking is, like, we want to provide the parking, or we want the parking to be there, and we want people to have a good experience, and but we also don't want it to be onerous on the, you know, property owner or business owner, to take away space from other productive things that could be done. So I'm thinking this is kind of a halfway point of, like, you know, not pushing too hard and taking away, because there's just not that much space to begin with, right? Even if they're gonna carve out a space for each unit, it could, you know, and then again, it's like people have to know, like, they're coming, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I always check it out when I'm new places. I don't expect that it's, you know, gonna be a free-for-all.
That is sort of the whole, I mean, there'll never be enough parking, period, right? We already
Right.
know that. That's a given. But I think it's different when you're asking for a place to park overnight, and possibly multiple nights. You come
Mhm,
here for
mhm.
multiple days and you just want your car parked
Right.
and go on about your business. Then, to me, that is a consideration of the business that builds that. They have to consider that in what they're doing. And if the space then is feasible for what they're trying to do,
Mm.
is how I view it. And, you know, like East Bay must have enough flexibility in their parking, because they have larger units,
Mhm.
which does exactly that, draw multiple cars.
Sure.
They also added parking after they redeveloped. And it's one of the ways that the market has dealt with this issue, I think, pretty effectively so far. And if this change to me is more about just seeing this being a more common use and not relying on the market to always get it right. But so far it has dealt with this issue pretty well. We don't have any lodging uses downtown that require somebody to park in the street in the wintertime, so, or maybe they're just not full, I don't know what the reason is, but
Well, the
When-
larger ones have adequate, but I'm concerned that these one-offs might not.
Mhm.
Yeah, Cobblestone over there, or Shoreline, whatever, they
Mhm.
have larger parking lots. But if you're just going to put a short stay on top of your business, you know, are you, because we pretty much, the lots aren't big, and we let people kind of build right out to get their building space, and
Mhm.
that's the only thing that I get worried about, and then frustration. But- And that's why, you know, I asked Hannah Senti that night, do you have space for two? And she does.
Yeah.
She wasn't allocating it, but she does have enough space, or they
Yeah.
have enough space,
Yeah.
so.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's not going to be an option that there's an exception. I don't think. I never think that sets a good tone,
Mm-mm.
to say that you're different. And I don't know, do we have anyone who would need to be grandfathered in on something like this?
I think technically everybody who's doing this use right now would be grandfathered in to some extent. We've got a section of our ordinance that talks about nonconformities that would get into more specifics about that.
But in the downtown area, because this is just really the downtown area.
This is the downtown districts, which are not just this side of Highway 61, but also the highway district itself and the mixed use zone on the other side.
Oh, okay, it is
All
on the other
those
side.
uses that are doing short-term stays. The reason why it's more of an issue for the downtown side of it is because in the mixed-use side of the highway, this is a conditional use. A lot of the time, people are getting special permission, and parking's always been part of that
Yeah.
conversation.
Like Todd Miller put in off-street parking
Mhm.
on his.
Yeah.
Just, you know, the one that's kind of larger that
Right.
would get affected by this.
Yeah.
All right, any thoughts, Ben?
No, I mean, I see both sides of it. I think I've seen the trend, I was reading an article, and I forget what city it was, but it was a bigger city, and it had reversed its position on requiring parking because they studied it and said it was a barrier to building. So people were not building and using their properties or building on, and so, I don't know, I think that's what maybe it was Austin, or it was a big city. So,
Okay.
at any rate.
Yeah.
For just their regular housing? or-
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
No, or-
it might have been for all lodging or all, like, short-term and long-term, and not treating them any differently.
I mean, I suppose if you're
Yeah, I mean, if
pressured
you're
to
gonna
have more
cut out,
housing,
yeah, if you wanna put, like we've talked about with housing in general, right? If you want density, you wanna reserve that density for
Yeah.
habitational, right? For people to live,
Yeah.
and stay. And if you're forcing people to carve out property for parking spaces, people are gonna be less apt to, the money doesn't work, the math doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. Although, yeah, but I hear what you're saying too. Like, I think having the requirement be the same for everybody downtown, I think makes
Well,
sense.
And then the other thing is, I mean, we have that 90-minute parking deal, but, you know, and a short stay just being downtown, you know, chances are you may have it parked there for up to 2 days or whatever. And then we can't have that. We can't watch the downtown streets sit there with people just parked for as long as they're here. That's not what that's not what our parking is for.
Well, the responsibility should fall to the landowner and to the person running the operation, right? And so, that's not uncommon to have those conversations, I wouldn't think. Maybe in this city we don't, I don't know, maybe we do. But,
You mean in terms of the owner to say like, hey, you know, you've got only one space and
that's
here
right.
are the rules.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we're bringing 2 cars, well, I'll show you where you can park the second one,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Come over a second.
Right.
I think the better operators would do that,
For sure.
and they'll pay the price as much as anyone if there's an issue. Yeah,
Right.
I think it is a lot of their responsibility.
Yep.
Why this still makes sense to me to put this in the code is because we also say you can't park on our public spaces at all overnight downtown. And we know that this use creates overnight parking demand, and so we don't want to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
No. Yeah, I think the basic, other than I was asking if we should fine tune it, I think it has to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, just to be clear to people and not catch them off guard.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This would be our first reading, right?
Mhm.
Would anyone like to make a motion on this?
I would make a motion to, what are we doing? To adopt or just do a reading? Is that what the motion is?
Either
To
one's
read?
going to be just fine.
Okay, I'll make the motion for ordinance 2023-06, parking.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just wanted to add,
Oh,
the sheriff offered the feedback that he does have some question about the ability to do enforcement with his current staffing situation.
well, that's why we need to hire a constable, but that's a different story.
Yeah, and hopefully not permanent.
A not permanent constable?
No, not a permanent situation.
Oh, right.
Okay, so, I think we were, okay. So, all in favor of ordinance 2023-06, parking? Aye.
Yes, good.
All right, that would be all 3 of us.
We did
Thank
that.
you.
For a second reading in future meetings.
Yay, great.
So constables still exist?
That was what.
I don't know, it's just a fun word to say at this
Well,
point.
I like the word, but it did come, I didn't, who said it? Somebody brought it up and it sounded like it was a real thing.
I thought it had.
Wasn't
been-
Eliason? Didn't he bring it up?
Maybe. I thought it had, that was one of those things that had been, crossed out of my civics books that was so dated and. they
Well,
had thought
he was saying that here are some other thing, other than just like a regular police officer that you
Mhm.
could have.
Oh,
So
right, yeah, there are the, yeah.
That
Mhm.
still must exist in statute that we could
Mhm.
have.
Yeah, we could.
I just think it's not important which word we use here, as long as we understand the concept.
Okay.
That we're having a not a licensed peace officer help with some code enforcement and.
Who will be called a constable.
And maybe,
Okay. I just like the word.
yeah.
Town greeter.
The town greeter. Sort of greeting.
Yeah.
Here's your ticket.
Have
Have a great day.
It's a 10% off coupon at the donut shop.
There you go. If you pay sooner,
Yeah.
you can pay in cash right now and see you later.
Hopefully not that.
Oh, right, no, bad idea.
Oh, boy. Okay, moving right along
Yes.
to more conversation related to donuts.
Donuts and coffee, right here.
So we had one conversation last time about a cannabis dispensary, thanks to Dave. And now I wanted to come back and talk about any interest in an exploratory small group with the county to see if there was any interest at all in a joint municipal dispensary. Part of it to me is that the one thing we do need to make some decisions on is if we want any limits at all to how many dispensaries we want, and then I think there's some zoning stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought before we do that, because there is some interest with counselors on this, that we need to know if this was something that would or could or should move forward, and then we know better about that second
I
piece that
see.
we really do need to
Yeah.
talk about for sure. So my question is, are there, of course, we're -2 people. But if there were a couple people interested in being on an exploratory group with county, should they go that route as well, Dave's going to check.
Hmm.
All
Okay,
so
all right.
maybe we need to, or are there any takers of the three?
Yeah, I think if you're here, you get first dibs.
For swipe.
Mhm.
I mean, it's tricky, because to me, I like, or think that having it be open for a private entity to do is great, but on the other hand, there's the offsetting the taxes that we have already, with the income that we could possibly derive from a dispensary.
Well, and they don't have to be exclusion of each other, just like right now we have liquor stores around the county.
Yeah.
You know, where,
Yeah,
I would
no,
never
I
be
hear what
a
you're saying.
one and only at all. I think people need a chance to give this a whirl. and see.
Well, and that's where
My
we can decide
underst-
about the licensing.
Yeah, my understanding from, at least from the municipal liquor, and I think Mike said that if you have a municipal dispensary, you're not going to probably welcome or want, or even legally be allowed to have a private competitor.
In the city.
It's clear that's the case with
Liquor.
Okay.
that you can't do both in the city limits. In our case, it's great to have other people selling liquor in the county. It's not, it
Mhm.
doesn't really compete with us. It's a great service for the community.
Mhm.
If you're asking though, do we want to compete with dispensaries? I mean, it would certainly be more of a challenge. So if we're trying to do it to make money, then we'll make more money if no one else is doing it. Not advocating for that. Just
Right,
saying.
right, right.
Yeah, I wouldn't advocate for that. I think these people need to give those businesses a try and see what. But
Yeah,
that said,
I'm not.
if, this city and or county wanted to participate, my first thought too is, low cost startup, like go lease a space or whatever.
So back up just
Sure.
a minute then. So you're in agreement that in the city, you would like to see private participate in cannabis dispensing?
I'm not so sure in this, that's where I'm like, I think this might have to be the same as the liquor store, but, I'm not, like, I think we need to explore it, but probably need some limit to get into that to make it worth it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
But the broader county, and I mean, really, you hit city limits.
pretty quick. Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
but I guess that's why we need a committee of exploratory thinking to see what people really think, and to know what the county really thinks. I'm not sure what the interest is past Dave. I don't know if he's gotten a formal answer from them either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would think it would be good to keep in the conversation and see where it's leading. I think we all kind of know where we're at, not to exclude, but not to miss out, maybe, is kind of how to think about it.
And I don't want to dissuade anybody from meeting with the county, but, the other meetings aren't going very well, or maybe they are, but like, we have some actual business that is unresolved.
Right.
And to add more.
Well, I think that this just points back to like the whole thing with those guys. It's like, you know what, we're all here together. Like, this is how it goes, right? We
Yeah.
do things together, we cooperate together, this is how it works. So this is another, for instance, like, hey, we're cooperating with this.
Yeah, because if 3 people or 4 people said, look, let's just do a city dispensary and we're gonna be the only ones, we don't need the county to do that.
No.
And
Certainly not.
we know how to run some businesses, some smaller businesses, right?
Yeah,
So we have
successfully.
the experience with that. So, I don't see a lot of need to meet with the county, but,
Okay.
so I'll opt out.
Well,
Good.
Good thinking.
part of it is because Dave has this concept, so like flesh it out, finally flesh it out. Does it have merit or not? And then you're right, then that could point us in another direction.
Yeah, I mean, we could just decide like, yeah, that's not for us, we don't want to participate, but you guys go ahead. I mean, I'm trying to remember, there was a trick with the way the licensing worked, right?
Oh, there's a lot of them, and we don't know is important to remember too, how
Okay.
it's actually gonna work. The county and the city both have the authority to limit the number of licenses that are granted in their jurisdictions to 1. But they don't have to limit them at all. So how's that gonna work where the city and the county are cooperating on that? I don't know. And if we limit it to 1, can we say who gets it? I don't know. I mean, what's the
And-
process
or could we
of
cooperate?
how they're given out? We don't know. Like, none
Right.
of that's actually been finalized yet, so.
So it's really.
This is extremely exploratory.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean.
Well, then I would like to continue the exploration then, just to, because nobody knows yet, so.
Okay, so,
I mean, I don't want to, if Aaron or Craig wants to, I'm not going to stand in their way, but I would do it if neither of them wants to.
okay, we'll check that out then, and we could even bring it up next time just to see when they're here. We can ask them
Yeah, because
afterwards.
obviously this is early days, so.
Well, and that's what we were kind of talking about last week, or last time when Dave was here, is that whole thing of, we only have to have 1, so, what if we said 1 is all we want here, and then they said, you can have as many as you want in the county, or vice versa, like, this doesn't make any sense. Then all you're doing is figuring out geographically where they're are they all gonna be If the county said no more than one, and then we said it's great, then they're all going to be crammed together in town, or flip, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. And that points out, though, what you're saying here is this isn't all about should we open a municipal dispensary. This is about joint policy making with the county, just so that our rules make sense and work together. And
Yeah.
we do this all the time. And sometimes it makes sense for us to have a shared understanding about rules, and sometimes it's not necessary, but it's always a good thing to at least talk about it.
Yeah.
And we had some other things still, we had those meetings earlier about different things, zoning and whatever. We did our own downtown area. The county ended up doing theirs. In fact, they kind of decided some of it was overkill once they thought it all through,
Mhm.
because so many other things were already covering it, like boat landings were already covered, kind of deal. So then it was like, maybe we don't need all this huge coverage of you can't everywhere. But there are still other issues which we'll need to talk to them, and we will continue to meet out even outside this, relating to what happens with pod. And the one thing we still haven't decided about, and I don't know how many there will still exist, are those cannabis events, sort of like taste testing, so to speak, events that they have, and maybe they won't have that many of them. But that was one of the things that we can regulate. We haven't done
Yeah.
anything with yet.
Did we not?
The other thing, though, too, we haven't added yet is edibles when people apply for liquor licenses for events, sorry.
Uh-oh.
That was the part, the key word
For
I
the
forgot.
events,
But
okay.
for events, so we need to talk about that, if we
Mhm.
want to do that or not. It would seem to make sense. So when
To just include that with the license? Is that? what
Well,
you
they-
expand the definition, but
Yeah.
we have to decide that.
We can't do that. The license for events for liquor is a specific state license that
Okay.
we have a role in, but it's
Mhm.
not, we don't create those rules.
Ah.
So we can't combine them. But if you want to talk about whether that's an issue for you when you're granting permission to use a public space for an event, then you can definitely do that. And you
Gotcha.
can do it right now. You don't have to change any regulations to make that an issue. If you have a policy, though, it's always nice to spell it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's already come up at an event. Wait a minute, why can't we have liquid edibles or whatever along with our temporary, or is that what you call it, temporary liquor?
Yeah.
Or event liquor license?
Hmm.
So, so it's those kinds of things in that case, we have to deal with the county, but there are little things along the way still
Yeah,
to
yeah, we
talk
can do
through.
that.
It would be different, so, all right, well, we should check with the other two then and see, but we've got at least one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe they'll get a commissioner one of these days.
Wait, what?
The state.
State
Oh, right.
for their department.
I thought they hired somebody, didn't they?
Yeah, for a whole day,
Oh,
Oh, no.
and she had to resign.
oh,
Boy, that was a hot topic. You missed that one.
I guess.
It
Wow.
Yeah, I
fast.
don't know.
Yeah,
In
and
came and went.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
All right. Well, okay, that brings us to council and staff reports. Patrick, any big reports?
Not really, just waiting for submissions to come in. They're trickling in for the legislator update.
Mm-hmm. So you did get a few.
Mhm.
Good.
And then, yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Mike?
Utilities Commission will meet next week to talk about water and sewer rates for next year.
Are they going down? Okay.
We won't even leave any suspense.
Just how much they're going up, I suppose.
That's the question. They don't always go up. They have not yet gone down.
Right, I'm not, yeah, I have that expectation.
Okay.
North House Board meeting, they're obviously building, getting their building done. Their funding is on track, it's on pace. They had a walkthrough on how they're doing that. They hope that this building is going to be a SIP panel over the timber frame, so it should
Oh,
go
interesting.
really, really quick. So they hope to have that dried in probably within the next week or two. So the weather's holding out,
That
which is
is.
great. It's, yeah, so.
That is very fast.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yep. And then Mike and I are meeting in our small group with them on Monday, 10 o'clock. I'm assuming we're doing that. They had talked to the board, Greg and some of the other board members, to ask their board to allow those conversations to continue, and I haven't heard that the meeting is canceled, so I think we're good. Still on.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I think that's good. Let's see, what else? No, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
So, let's see, we had a Y meeting, and, well, so, they lost their childcare teacher, or lead teacher, to a cooperation station, which you can see that is good and bad. It's sort of like, oh, great.
Are they reopening?
Apparently, is
Oh.
my understanding, they hired this person away from the Y. So,
Oh.
you know, that's kind of, it is what it is. They're still holding it together somehow. I didn't get all the details, but they feel like they're on track. The county has given them some extra dollars to help pay, give a little boost to their base rate of pay, so they're hoping to pull in some more people. They've had some, sounds like some good feedback, but they haven't got anybody in the door yet. There's that, and then they have something going on with the boiler, the heater for the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having some issues there. They're struggling with that, but it sounds like the county is on it, like it's moved beyond just their world, the YMCA world. Obviously, the building is the county, so, but they're going after that and gonna have that fixed hopefully soon, but it's so
They had some.
surprising to me, because hasn't this already happened?
The ongoing,
I'm like,
constant,
what
seems
the
like, yeah.
hell?
What-
But I mean, I'm
Most
not
of the
blaming
summer,
them,
isn't
I'm
it?
just saying like, what?
No, but, what's that term,
Excuse me.
value-added engineering or whatever? I don't know.
There was
They
no
were-
value added in that
They had it down yesterday for a bit, now it's back up.
Oh,
Kept
okay,
it in
so
the
maybe
day,
that's
so
when
maybe
they-
they did get it.
Yeah, because I talked, that was a week ago, Monday, I think,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, hopefully that's been taken care of. But that was it, and, Mike, off the top of your head, how much money do we give these guys? Just curious.
These guys,
The Y.
we don't give the Y any money.
We don't,
The county.
We give the county
Wow.
$125,000 a year
for the Y, right?
to use for the community center. Yeah.
To use for the community center, not the Y.
Well, the Y,
The Y,
but it's you know, the county pays for all the building maintenance.
right, right.
And all that stuff, and their budget for that is significantly higher than twice the contribution we're providing them.
Oh, yeah,
So I
no,
would
I'm
say it
just-
supports the operation that the Y is in, but it's not really, none of it's going to them.
Right, right, but it is. So, well, isn't it? I mean, you know, no. Why not? Why wouldn't we say that? Why wouldn't we say that that's going?
That's how we line item it, that it's our contribution to the Y.
Well, we talk about it that way colloquially. We're writing that check to the county. I mean, you can
Well,
think
yeah,
about how
but,
that, what use it's for, however you want, but I think just accurately, it's
Okay.
it's to the county.
So it goes to the county?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just goes into
Their general fund,
their
I
general
suppose.
fund? And
Yeah,
they
and I
just?
mean, they're using it for the Y, so, but that's the reason we write them the check.
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
So
just,
far.
thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification and edification. I feel so much better now.
And that hasn't really changed much, has it?
You
from-
mean the amount?
Yeah.
No, no, that
That's-
hasn't.
That'll be the third conversation
Yeah.
that we have. with them. Because that was based on the contract that is.
Doesn't exist.
Really
Yeah, it does,
defunct
yeah, right.
At this point. But the deal was, the understanding was that we were providing that as a way to contribute to a successful community center. And then there was the why that came into the deal to operate it, and then all the contracts kind of changed.
The school was involved in that original?
They were.
Yeah. I remember that now.
So is the school also doing that, giving money to that?
I'd be very surprised if they are.
Okay. Then what is their relationship now? Do you know?
No.
I'm not asking
the
you
issue
to know, but
is
I
we
thought you
don't,
might know.
We don't really get involved in any of those operational conversations.
Just write the check.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I mean, we don't need to be.
No, but people ask us about that,
Yeah.
right? Like, what about this about the Y? And what about that about the Y? And it's almost, it's exclusively about operations, right? It's not where we live, but that's what people expect from us.
Yeah, and that line isn't very clear even in the contract, right, between what's capital and what's programming, right? Like, are we paying for all the pool supplies and toilet paper, right?
For sure we are. And I
Right.
mean, and staffing and cleaning and all kinds of things, whatever
Right.
is involved in that operation.
Mhm.
And there's of that amount, 10,000 is what is going specifically to capital. So
Oh, okay.
originally, right, there was some thought to, we need to set some money aside for capital. Clearly, it was just a token amount
Yeah,
at 10,000 per party per.
right. Because I mean, I think, I'm not sure what the county, what the building is costing the county, but I think it's, at least the last time I looked, it was in excess of 400,000 annually. Like, it was a big sum. But.
Yeah. Wait, you're saying that was their expenditure? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so that's part of that capital improvement is to kind of make more corrections to some of the cost cuttings that now cost them a lot more money, which is true of a lot of their stuff, but
Yeah.
it is one of the facilities most used. One of the things I
Hard to be a
asked when
landlord.
What's
when,
that?
Hard
when
to
they
be a landlord.
Yeah.
first did this was, could we get a study through the clinic to start monitoring our community's health? If people go there and they take advantage of this, can we see if there's been health benefits, over time
Oh,
to our
sure.
community by
Yeah.
utilizing it and see if it's making a difference? Because that's a real value add. If it keeps your medical costs down and your general quality of life goes up a lot.
Yeah.
But clearly, insurance companies believe it does, right? Because
Yeah,
most
they're
people
willing.
that they get a silver sneakers or whatever program they have with their Medicare, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it pays for their YMCA membership.
Yeah.
Or a discount or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it would just be nice to know, because we do have a lot of people in there all the time. I mean,
Mhm.
hardly anyone went to the pool. Now that pool's got people in there
Yeah.
of all ages and the classes and whatever. And the community aspect too. The otherwise I belong to in the metro, they'd have these same kind of programs and people would be there later afterwards having their cups of coffee and visiting and whatever. And I see that same thing happening at this Y too.
Yeah, it's nice.
So that's kind of nice.
I like the
But-
food, the free food they kept going. That's been great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lifesaver for me personally is that the fact that the Y came in to run this. I think if we had tried to run this ourselves, we wouldn't have had the expertise to do this.
No, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a benefit there, for sure.
But, all right.
That's my report.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. This coming Monday, we have our next meeting for that coastal initiatives to see
yeah.
what kind of planning we might get.
Mhm.
And Stan Tech will be participating, and they have the master park plan. They have some of Elena's data on water quality and other things, erosion maps. Can't remember what else. There's other material in there. I'm not sure what else is in there, but we'll have a review, and they'll help us narrow down of all the different projects which one they feel would be a good one to work on. The initial reaction was the East Bay Harbor,
Right.
but maybe the marina part that Dave just talked about, because that's all in
Sure.
there, might be something. We don't know. We'll wait to see what
That
they
might
say.
Dovetail nicely.
Yeah, so that's next Monday. Mike and I have talked about this, and maybe you'd want to say more, Mike, but I just thought with all the upcoming now of, changes coming with the city hall and the liquor store being real, there's a lot of work to be done within the city offices, cleaning out files, cleaning out everything, getting files from paper to electronic, sorting out what's keeping and going, and a marketing plan for the liquor store, not just for once it's here and advertising, but when it's where it is going to be temporarily and all of that. So there's a lot of project work and some cost involved in that, so just keep all that in the back of your mind, that all that stuff's going on too. I see this as a real opportunity to add some more efficiencies in how the offices are run after all this big cleaning goes through. I still am concerned personally about housing and where it's headed. Where, in theory, we'll have some apartment buildings with studios and one bedroom, but I'm still concerned about where does that lead us for having families who want homes. And so I'm starting some data collection through the
HRA or?
no, through from it's
The
Bob
state?
Thompson, right?
Oh,
Not
Assessors.
Bob, what?
Assessors.
Assessor's office,
Oh,
and
okay.
I got some voter data or whatever, and I just kind of want to plot out what we have, what we stand to lose, because I just don't think we can build out of it, and just start thinking about, and been reading what other communities are doing to preserve homes in a community.
Mhm.
And I also start to get concerned about who's really here to be part of the community after a while. And that's what they see in some other small towns if they don't watch that. Who really lives here and cares,
Mhm.
pays attention. So anyways, trying to get stuff on that. We still have, we talked about this, I went and looked it up, that was at the May 31st meeting, but we've had an official request. I don't remember if everyone got emailed on this or not. But the Violence Prevention Center has made a request of the city for 10 grand out of the one-time public safety aid that we were given from the state back in, and Kim, has that 140,000 come through yet? That one-time payment from the state, do we know?
No, I think that's December 26th.
Okay, so we don't have
Oh.
the money yet.
No.
it's-
Santa's bringing that, okay.
Yeah, perfect. 140,427, and it can be used for any kind of public safety, so it could go to your law enforcement, your fire department,
Mhm.
any kind of emergency services, rescue, and.
And it's
this-
it's just a one-time.
It was a one-time effort, and I think a lot of it went to smaller communities. I don't have the full quote, I just looked it up again today.
Okay.
But we will be getting that money, and that's the only official request. When we talked about it earlier, I know the fire department has had a lot of costs this year,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think we were kind of thinking of allocating a lot of that money that way, but
Sure.
we need to acknowledge this request, and if not tonight, soon, before year end. And it's good to know, because I remember that, Mike, you said, well, we'll wait to see when this money actually shows up. We don't know when we're gonna get it. So
Mhm.
now at least we have an idea of that.
So we know.
Perhaps you'd like them to come to a meeting and make their request in person.
Sure. I don't remember getting the request. Was it just?
Well, see, I have to look at the email again. Maybe it was just to
Yeah,
me.
Yeah, do you remember that, Ben?
No.
No? Yeah.
So that could be, so I've just talked about it before, but we do
Okay.
need to take action or not, whatever, make a decision
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we want to do. And then the review process is going along, right? It's coming along. The one thing we need to finish up, and Aaron and I have kind of talked about it, is the form that we would utilize as counselors. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about, that their working relationship, doing things all the time, you know, is applicable, but I don't think it applies to us. So we just have to fine tune that, and then I need to get that for everybody quick, make sure they're comfortable, we're not missing something, and then get that completed. But then, how's everything else? Is it on schedule? All the other review pieces coming along okay?
Everybody has submitted their work that they needed to do, so, yeah.
Good, and that all goes to Rovina, and she'll summarize everything, so that'll be good.
Great.
So there we go. I went up to talk to the kids at ISD 166 yesterday. I had a fun afternoon for almost an hour. They're getting ready, the sixth graders there, to write their little reports of mayor for a day. So we went and chatted with them. That was a lot of fun. They had a little prepared questions and everything. And then when they get done with that, we'll coordinate something they can come to kind of present to us, and we're going to do stuff with the radio or whatever.
Oh, fun.
So, yeah.
And it was sixth grade, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
mhm, Yeah.
Great.
Those are some small classes.
Yeah, well, it's interesting year by year how it can just be so different.
Changes.
It is, they're small, so small.
Yeah. But, yeah, I really appreciate the teachers taking the time to do that.
Yeah,
They're busy. And
what teachers are coordinating that?
Betsy Jorgensen
Oh.
and Melanie Olson.
Okay.
And tomorrow,
You're going
they
to
are,
Capitol.
yeah, State Capitol, and then to the Guthrie for a play. Well, you know, which
That's
play,
super
of
cool.
I gotta
course.
drop them off at 4:00
Oh, to get on the
in
bus?
the morning, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Brutal.
All in a day. I said, you get to spend the night, and they're like, you could tell the teachers are like, I don't know. It's a lot of coordinating. So, yeah, there'll be kids on a bus, but
It's on a bus for a long time.
that Guthrie
Still,
building
it's one day.
alone is so cool. They'll
That
just
is
have
pretty
fun with that.
That is pretty fun looking.
Get the play. But, so anyways,
Yeah.
that was my fun event for the week. It's going to visit with them. So that's it. Do you have
That's it.
anything, Kim? Okay. Well, that's it, I guess, then. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Bye.